watched the royal wedding yesterday morning, or you've seen clips of it since. It was so beautiful, so well executed, so imbued with tradition, and yet in some ways such a breath of fresh air. Had the appropriate amount of Anglican pomp and precision, but also some passionate preaching of the word. Oh, that gospel choir bringing fire and diversity to that very British chapel. Wow. Wow, all of it. The Holy Spirit was in St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, to be sure. How appropriate that the Spirit was so in evidence on the weekend on which we celebrate Pentecost. My favorite Spirit moment happened during Bishop Michael Curry's electrifying sermon. He was rolling along as Michael Curry does, and only Michael Curry can do, talking about the power and the way of love to change the world. You may remember it if you've heard some of it. Talking about Jesus' sacrificial love, a love that gave even though he didn't get anything out of it, not even an honorary degree, Curry said. He was just rolling along. And then he invited all who were listening to imagine a Spirit-filled world where that sort of love, Jesus' sort of love, is the way. To imagine neighborhoods and communities and governments and nations and business and commerce where love is the way. Man was out of his mind, as any good preacher should be. But that wasn't the best Spirit moment for me. The best moment came as he continued, and here I'm going to quote him quite directly. He preached, when love is the way, unselfish, sacrificial, redemptive, when love is the way that no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. When love is the way, we will let justice roll down like a mighty stream and righteousness like an ever-flowing brook. When love is the way, poverty will become history. When love is the way, the earth will be a sanctuary. When love is the way, we will lay down our swords and shields down by the riverside to study war no more. When love is the way, there's plenty good room for all of God's children, because when love is the way, we actually treat each other well, like we are actually family. And that's when it happened. That's when the camera shot fell on Prince Harry. Tears glistening in his eyes, not a few of them there, I'm sure, because of the pushback he must have received for courting and then marrying Meghan Markle. I mean, not only is she not English, which would have been enough of a royal faux pas, not even white. By the time Curry finished his thought with these words, when love is the way, we know that God is the source of us all, and we are brothers and sisters, children of God. My brothers and sisters, that's a new heaven, he said, a new earth, a new world, a new human family. When he finished that thought, I was in a puddle myself. But then again, I'm an easy mark. Sometimes the Pentecost moment is easy to discern. Sometimes there's no mistaking the Spirit at work in our lives and in the world. Holy tears shed by a prince, a gospel choir singing at a royal British wedding, and a word about the power of love to bring us together as a new human family are pretty good indicators of the Spirit's presence. With all this royal wedding stuff and the celebration of confirmation tonight and the baptism that we're going to have tonight as Tessa gets baptized, has me thinking not just about the big dramatic moments when we can just tell that the Holy Spirit is at work, but also the less dramatic ways that the Spirit accomplishes what the Spirit is going to accomplish in and through and beyond and in spite of us sometimes. Not just at the wedding when the day you've been preparing for and looking towards finally arrives, Billy. Not just on the day of confirmation when all the time the kids and the mentors put in leads up to a special, very special ceremony, and they are rightfully recognized and celebrated whatever choice they make about joining the church. Not just when, after a long period of looking around at congregations for just the right fit, you finally make the decision to stand up in front and join the church. Not just on the blessed day of baptism when your baby or your 5- and 8-year-old or you yourself, Tessa, are marked in front of a community of faith as God's own forever. Not just at the ordination and installation when you feel a special sense of God's presence and knowledge that God has set you apart for special work. not just on the graduation day when you walk across the stage, or your child walks across the stage, or your grandchild walks across the stage, and your sense of pride and perhaps gratitude overwhelms you. I'm talking about the other times. Perhaps it's less easy to sense the Spirit, or when it's harder to believe that you're beloved and that love is the way. When the tired old world really does seem to be too much. How do you sense and respond to the Spirit, the one Jesus called companion then? How do you sense and respond to the Spirit when the shine has worn off, when the wedding is over and the work of marriage begins, when the baptism or confirmation day recedes in the rearview mirror and the life of living as a disciple of Jesus is right in front of you? And this morning we heard from a woman in the congregation who was baptized or confirmed 80 years ago today. 80 years ago. She's been living as a disciple ever since. How do you sense and respond to the Spirit when, as the Apostle Paul says, you are groaning inwardly at all the pain in the world and in your own life, and you can feel the world groaning along with you, and you don't know how to pray, and you can only trust that the Spirit is interceding with and for you with sighs too deep for words? How do you sense the Spirit when again, there's another school shooting? It's easy to sense the presence of the Spirit at Pentecost. What about when it's harder to see and hear? Sometimes we just hope for what we cannot see and we wait for it with patience, trusting the Spirit to help us in our weakness and give us the courage to take the actions that we need to take. Let me be clear. Waiting with patience for what we cannot see doesn't mean that we don't take concrete steps in the direction of justice and mercy and compassion and sanity for God's sake. It means we let the power of love work in and through us in the meantime. We let that power inspire us to let go of grudges and to not respond to evil with evil, and to love our enemies and to pray for those who we may not like, but we're called to love, at least if we're following the Spirit. Let that power guide our steps towards speaking and working for justice and serving those in need, engaging in prayer and meditation and corporate worship. Let that power buoy us to move through times of personal discouragement and depression, to keep us from giving up or giving in to any nagging sense that we are not enough or that we don't matter. Because after all, we are children of God. And we let that power remind us that it's not all about us. Not all about us as individuals, not all about us even as a community. There's something more at work in the world than just us. That's the Spirit. How do I discern this presence and activity of the Spirit in my own life? How do I know it's the Spirit when it's not as dramatic as Pentecost? First of all, if what I'm feeling inclined to do is leading me in the direction of the Spirit, I might have, or the fruit of the Spirit, I might be moving and experiencing the Spirit. But if it's not leading me in the direction of the fruit of the Spirit, maybe I'm off base. Is it leading me to regard anyone else as less than human, to speak of them or treat them like animals? Then it's not the Spirit. Is it leading me to lie or cheat or steal, to break covenant in my relationships? Then it's not the Spirit. Is it leading me to do things that harm the least of these, my brothers and sisters? It's not the Spirit. Is it leading me towards something that will be destructive to my own soul or the soul of others? Then it's not the Spirit. So I look for and I listen to the voice within me that leads me in the direction of love and joy and peace and patience and goodness and kindness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. Sometimes, let me be honest, it seems easier and more satisfying to head in the other direction. It seems easier to hate. It seems easier to give up. It It seems easier to hold on to resentments and grudges or to avoid moving in the direction of kindness, especially when it's towards someone I don't particularly like. Which means that I'm feeling something in me leading me to do something hard, to get outside of myself for the sake of someone else, or to take a courageous stand in the name of love, and that's probably the Holy Spirit. Here's another way that I can sense and respond to the presence of the Spirit. Years after this confirmation day, I can take a look back at the faith statements of our confirmands. 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe I'll pull out Jane's statement. Jane, who wrote that love is the most important thing in our lives, and that we should love others like we love ourselves and our families. And we should be kind to others too, as kindness generates love, and love generates kindness. If I can look at that 15 years from now and feel moved to act in loving and kind ways, that's the Spirit. Or years from now, perhaps I'll take a look at the poem that Atticus wrote. Atticus, who called God a force that connects to everything on our earth made by a bang. Not a physical being, but one who stays in my heart and mind, giving me at least one friend, guiding me in the right direction, making me think, making me dream, and making me learn and love, pushing me to be the best I can be, because that's what people who love you do. For better or worse, I know that God is there for me. I don't know what I would be if God was not there for me. If I can look at that 15 years from now and say, that's true, I should act on that. That's the Spirit. What about Jack, who wrote among other things that God is love and that he or she loves you no matter your race, ethnicity, or religion, because God is the creator. God plants the seed of love, he wrote, in all of us. And whether or not we are good soil, we choose to accept or reject that seed of love. If 15 years from now I read that and see the fruit of the seed, that openness, that tolerance that he was talking about has sprung up in me, that's the Spirit. What about Sam, who in his statement spoke, among other things, God is Lord and catalyst of all creation, and Jesus coming to show us how to love one another and worship God in the right way, and that God accepts all of us with our imperfections and unique spiritual views, but doesn't let us stay there, and that every church member has a part in building up the foundation of heaven. If I can look at those words 10 or 15 years from now, say that's true, and I've done something about it by loving people and building up the foundations, that's the Spirit. What about Tessa? Dear Tessa, who's getting baptized tonight, who came into confirmation at the invitation of a friend. Her statement of faith is a picture of how God has been with her in the midst of trials and tribulations and hardship and joy and prayers answered. If I can pull that picture out 10 or 15 years from now, and still be moved by the power of what God can do. That's the Spirit. This community of faith, welcoming Tessa, encouraging her towards baptism, being the body of Christ. Really isn't all that dramatic. It's just faithful. So now what? After Pentecost, now what? Prayer, which leads to action. Belief, which leads to compassion. Community, which leads us out of ourselves to love and kindness. That